gonna unmute. Okay. I see several people here. You're gonna have to mute yours. We knew that. Turn the volume on. Yeah, it's that one. Nope. Okay, hold on. Hold on, folks. We got reverb problems. Okay, good. Wait a minute, I've got more people signing in. Let me get these people in. I see Jeff Goodyear there. I know you're muted. Hello. Let me turn my video on. I'm sorry. Let's see. I just turned it. Let's see. My camera. If I start the video, there you go. Now I got it. Well, and it keeps going back to turning me off. I turn it on and it turns me right back off. Hold on one second. Hey, Brad, come here a second. It keeps turning my camera off. The minute I touch it, it turns it off. See, it says start video. I click start video and it turns it on and it turns it right back off. Choose a virtual background, video settings, turn off integrated camera. Start video, alt to V. Did I try that? No, it keeps cutting me off. Oh, it's integrated. Choose a virtual. I don't want to choose a video settings. Oh, there we go. Let's see. What am I supposed to do here? Let's see. Video. I've got.
You've got it now.
Yeah. Let's see if
you just X out of it, wouldn't it?
Let me see if it stays on. Yeah, now it's working. Well, okay. All right. Sorry, people. That option of activating my audio or video wasn't working. Every time I clicked it, it turned me off. Okay, I have 13 more people in the queue. Let me get these people signed in. Now we're getting a pretty good crowd here now. We're up to 43 people. There's another one, 2 more, 3 more. I'll keep adding. We'll get to the point. We'll give people a little bit of grace period. Okay. David's iPhone. We're getting reverb. Who's got their volume on? Yeah, should we give a couple of minutes? I see 2 more people that are successfully getting in. Okay. Yeah, it's 7:01. 1 more minute, we're going to start. All right. Yeah, here we go. Okay, it's officially 7:01. 1 more minute, we'll start.
What is
the meeting? Yeah, I sent it to all Glenmary residents again. Yeah. Nope, it's the right one. It's the one I used to sign in. Okay, are we back? Are we back ready? I think we're close. We should go. We have about 3 more people here.
We got race down in that way as well.
That one was that you said.
Okay, we have the last 3. Okay, we have 53 people linked at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedules to pay attention to our neighborhood and participate in this annual meeting. This is a change. Last year we did not have a meeting due to the pandemic, and so doing this on Zoom, we've actually only had 1 Zoom meeting, and it was our maiden voyage, so it didn't go all that well, but we've learned more. So we have a fairly decent idea. I keep seeing more people to admit. I'm gonna keep admitting people as I talk. Okay, so I think it's important to say this right off the bat. This meeting is our required annual meeting per our bylaws, and it is for lot owners only. We are recording this meeting, and in the state of Kentucky, if anybody else is recording it, they do not have our permission to do that. And the reason for saying that is if somebody has some issue and they want to make some legal claim out of what was said in this meeting, I'm stating it again for the record, it's going to be in the minutes. It's not okay with this board to be recording this meeting. We have the only recording. It'll be published for members on the website, just to be clear. We have a lot of new families and new homeowners, and welcome to all of you all. There's some of you all that maybe haven't been through one of these with us before, so welcome to our community. And the reason for doing this with Zoom is that we had a number of attempts to try to find a place to conduct, and we don't have money in the budget annually to cover rental of a facility to cover this annual meeting, because we've always used a Jefferson County Public School, and we have in some past years even used a church. But we got a sound no from Jefferson County Public Schools. They were not allowing anybody to use theirs. We could get the Fern Creek Community Center that only held 100 people. Let me admit the next people that are getting in here now. There was some discussion about possibly conducting this meeting at a church, and the consensus was that due to the behavior of some of our residents, that was not a good idea. It would it's absolutely inappropriate for some of the behavior we've seen to be in a church. You basically taint the residents, or whoever had connection to the church would be tainted with the behavior of some of our residents. So let me just give a quick overview, just as a reminder, mainly for new residents. Glenmary absolutely is a deed restricted community, and that's one of the attractions that brings people into our neighborhood. And all of us who are lot owners are expected to abide by the deed restrictions, and that's all of our responsibility, not just the board. Next thing that the bylaws require is that we address the topic of quorum. We're supposed to establish a quorum in one of these meetings, and through our legal counsel guidance on that, they have advised in the eye of the court, a quorum is whoever is in attendance. So we automatically have quorum. I'm admitting more people, sorry for the delay. So we automatically have quorum both in this meeting and in the counting of ballots. It is essentially the number of people who show up. So hang on, it's amazing people are just now getting in. Still more people, even one of the candidates, Sean Adams, I see he's signing in. Okay, let's carry on. One point I'd like to make is that, just as a reminder, the HOA and the board of directors' sole purpose is to provide day-to-day support of the operation of the community. And there's 7 board members who are volunteers, give their time and effort to help the community exist within the bounds of our governing docs. And that's all any members in the past or in the future really are obligated to do. So that is the mission. There's nothing else. There's no personal agendas, no nothing. We follow these governing docs. One of the things I would like to do is ask that anybody who has any questions, please hold those to the end. We did ask for people to submit questions via the HOA website, and we do have several questions. We'll get into those. I think, although we've not done it, I think we can. If we get to those, we can take questions on this Zoom site as well. Okay. Let's see, the next in the required process in the agenda we're supposed to follow, we're supposed to have certification of proxies and the election of the board members. Due to the pandemic and the fact we weren't going to be able to have an in-person meeting, we are following the process, and we have doing the same thing we did last year, where we mailed election packets out. This year we have three board positions up for re-election, and that election mailing showed the incumbents, the three people that are on the board now that are doing an excellent job. And then there are three new candidates. The candidates that are incumbents are Brad Dudley, Ron Huff, and Joe Swinehart. The new candidates are Sean Adams, Christy Stess, and Miranda Brightup. These are the names that were on the proxy, and you should have seen those, should have received a copy of those already. As a reminder, this bylaws require that we elect 3 officers 1 year and 4 of the alternate year to make up the 7. That way it keeps a rotation. We don't get in a situation where we have a board that doesn't have any experience in the operations. Hopefully everybody got their election packets. I've got more members to admit here. Hopefully everyone got their election packets and with the bios and the instructions. And the election packets have to be in postmarked no later than this Friday, the 15th. One thing that is a touchy subject, we are required to nominate an election chairperson and to conduct the election with serious integrity. And what we have done, I have appointed an election chairperson who is the only person who has a copy to the appeal box that has a key to get to those proxies. And this person is keeping a Excel spreadsheet of all proxies as they're numbered and are tallied and the count. I haven't seen them. I haven't touched them. I don't have any idea where that stands. In the end, she will give her. We will receive a copy of that. And so for your integrity verification, keep a copy of your proxy, and if there's any question at all, your proxy can be checked to see that it was recorded properly. But for wouldn't ordinarily say this, but I am not going to name who the election chairperson is. We have a history. We tried for 4 years to have election chairpersons, and every single year when it was public, the election chairperson with the use of the proxies was harassed to the point that it was embarrassing. And we actually had a very I guess a well-known CPA firm who was so disgusted with the way they were treated by Glenmary residents. They said they never have anything to do with one of our elections again. We used the Jefferson County Board of Elections. We used a private accounting firm. We used a tax service twice, and it's embarrassing that members of our community would do that, but it happened every single time. So this election is being conducted with the highest integrity, and we won't tolerate any harassment of anybody involved in it. And that's the way we've had to do it from our history of not doing, or residents not giving credibility to the process, and actually trying to influence the process. Okay, the next step in this process is that we are to, hold on, I got a few more residents trying to get in. We do have, yes, we are required to use a firm, and we are not required to use a firm. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Okay, we are supposed to, for the record, document that we have a record, official record that this meeting was conducted, and there's an affidavit that I filled out following the format that basically names the location, the time, who all's invited, and that there are this meeting is addressing the election and the annual call to order on the agenda. And this document I have here in my hand will be recorded and put in the website record along with the minutes to this meeting. It has instructions on it as well about the election process. So that is just the formality, but it's required. And here's the form, and we do this. You'll be able to see it. It'll be on the website. So that's I guess that's legal proof that we have in fact conducted this meeting. Okay, just as a reminder, we did not have a 2020 annual meeting due to the pandemic. There was absolutely no way anyone should have been in attendance of a meeting. The pandemic was raging, so we did not have one. So there are no minutes as a result. This meeting notice for this particular meeting, as required by the bylaws, was posted on the HOA website on 9/27, and that complies with the 14-day minimum notice. And an email was sent to all registered lot owners on that same date. And additionally, the signs were put out at the entrances so that everyone was aware. And in all honesty, there is no, this board would much prefer to have had an in-person meeting than this Zoom meeting. There is a absolute reality that there's people on this call who are not Glenmary residents. We're aware of that. So please be aware of that as well. There are a few things you might want us to say that we probably shouldn't say because of some of these people that are in attendance. Yeah, all residents did receive notice of this annual meeting as well in the election packets. So that's 3 or 4 ways to make sure that it was out there. So let's see, hang on, I've got another person. We're up to 84 residents. That's actually pretty good. Okay. Part of this process is that is a requirement that we read in the last meeting's minutes, and that'll have to be the 2019 meeting minutes, and those have been posted on the website, and the board members have reviewed these for accuracy, and they, to the best of our knowledge, represent what was said in that 2019 meeting, and that that was said and done back in 2019, and as the requirement goes, the meeting minutes for this year's meeting won't be read into the record until next year's annual meeting. So I guess at this point we'll have our HOA secretary Evelyn Mills go through these, and the board will vote to approve and admit these to the record. So here, you can use this.
So this is the minutes for the meeting that was held on October 14th, 2019. We were at the Fern Creek High School cafeteria. The meeting started at 6:30 p.m. and in attendance were Board of Directors Bob Thompson, Sharon, Evelyn, Brad, Ron, and Joe Schweinhart. There were approximately 47 residents in attendance. Bob Thompson introduced the Board of Directors and appointed Joe Schweinhart as parliamentarian. Bob explained the definition of quorum as is written in our bylaws as being the number of proxies sent in and also the number of people attending the meeting. He said all board members were present except for Mike Brackett. Bob said each year the election is for 4 board members or 3 board members on alternating years. This is a year for 3 board positions that are open. Those running are Brad Dudley, Joe Schweinhart, Ron Huff, and Anna Daigle, who was unable to attend tonight. There were 4 blank spots on the proxies for write-ins. Bob introduced the election chairperson. She is in complete control of all the proxies and will let us know when it is finished what the results are. Bob explained that we won't have an official result until Friday to give those who mailed the proxies time to get in. We will post the results once the count is finalized. He explained that we have made some changes to the bylaws in order to make this more realistic. We changed the date to have the bios in by September 1st each year to give time to get all the documents together and get to the printers and in the mail. Bob said we had an affidavit that showed when the announcement was posted and the signs were put up. Bob said that anyone that had not turned in their ballots to make sure they turn them in at the table this evening. If there is anyone here who wants to be a candidate, he said he would give them time to introduce themselves. No one did. Bob said we were at the last minute move to the cafeteria due to events at the school. Evelyn read the minutes for the 2018 annual meeting. Bonnie Worley made a motion to accept the minutes as read, and Jean Bird seconded the motion. The vote passed unanimously. There was a motion by Sharon to accept the election chairperson, and Evelyn seconded the motion, and the vote was carried unanimously. Bob Thompson talked about the past 5 years of weathering the storms of the golf course property and the lawsuits. We have won 3 court rulings and are currently waiting on the appeal in the Judge Willett case, which centered around the properties that were attempted to be sold as residential property that were part of the golf course. Glenmary HOA won the case in Judge Willett's courtroom, and we are now waiting for the appeal filed by Par Golf and Louisville Planning and Zoning. It is being reviewed at this time. Bob said home sales are holding steady. We have some violations to the deed restrictions to deal with, but overall the neighborhood looks very well. There are a lot of homes selling. The owner of the golf property seems to still be Par Golf, but the holder of their note was King Southern Bank. It has been sold to Stockyards Bank. Stockyards is holding the note now on the Par Golf property. He said until there is a decision made on the appeal, we are in limbo. He said neighbors continue to mow the property. We will post when we learn anything. Bob said we are being conservative with our budget and have only had one-time assessment of $175, which was early on in the court cases. Treasurer's report, Sharon read the financials for the year. Bob Thompson explained that a large part of our electricity bill could be cut by changing the lights to LEDs, but with the stand LG&E has, we would not benefit from any of the savings, even though the savings could be significant. Regarding the legal fee for Dobson Lane, we must do all we can to keep the traffic congestion moved out of Glenmary with this development. Evelyn explained that there were 58 new residents in the last year as compared to 42 the year before. Each new resident receives a letter from the board which tells about the history of Glenmary. It also gives information regarding the HOA fee, the website, how to sign up on the website, and encourages them to read the governing documents. Architectural approvals. Evelyn explained that the architectural approvals for the year, there were 3 deck replacements, 9 fences, 2 driveways, 1 gazebo, a satellite dish, a play set, a stone patio, a set of spotlights, and an irrigation system. Underground maintenance, Joe spoke about landscaping and irrigation. He said there are things that need to be done to get things in great shape. He wants some trees and turf replaced and the irrigation to work right. This fall, some trees will be replaced along with some of the ivy at one of the entrances. We are trying to make everything as beautiful as we can. He asked for input from residents regarding what we would like to see improved or added. He said to email him and he will respond to the emails and requests. He reported he was getting ready to take bids for the next contract for landscaping, but we will wait until spring to obtain bids for snow removal, as he doesn't want to disturb the current snow removal because we are too close to snow season to make any changes. He said, we have changed the lights to LED at the entrances. Recently, someone notified us that the Glenmary flag was upside down. We had not seen it, but that's why we need to hear from everyone so we can take care of these items. He said he thinks the neighbors are doing a wonderful job of mowing and keeping the golf property looking good, but we must continue to put pressure on code enforcement to push bark off to keep up their property so the neighbors can stop mowing it. He said, thank you to everyone who has worked on mowing. He added that we would be putting in tulips this fall at the entrances to further enhance the entrances in the spring. He repeated that he wants input because residents have good ideas that we can put to work for the community. Bob reiterated Bob's call for input from the residents and said, we really value what everyone says, and encouraged everyone to speak up on letting us know about not only landscaping, but deed restriction violations, crimes, and anything else of concern or ideas. He said some items we have no jurisdiction over, such as skunks, etc., but we would respond and help where we can. Under old business, for golf property, Bob said again that it is in the review process. There is no new evidence submitted, and the appeals court said they would not be hearing any oral arguments. Meeting with Metro Council and code enforcement, Bob said there was a meeting with Bob Engel and code enforcement in August. David Cortizer, the head of code enforcement, was under the impression that Pargoff was maintaining the property. We quickly straightened them out on that assumption and explained that the neighbors were maintaining the property. He said that put a different light on the matter. Recently, they have been out to do another inspection. Under delinquent accounts, Bob said regarding the delinquent accounts, we will have set the highest 5 accounts foreclosure letters and have gotten action on one of them. Under Dobson Lane, Bob said the Dobson Lane development, which is at least 80 new homes, intends to connect to Blacksmith Lane with no intention of routing to Brettlinger. The meeting with planning and zoning regarding this property would not entertain the idea of using Dobson Lane at all. The only thing Glenmary got out of the meeting was a surety bond to cover damage to the roads of Glenmary. He explained that the roads are county roads, but we supply snow removal. He said that the residents affected at the Blacksmith Road at the intersection of Blacksmith and Kendrick Crossing all signed a petition to close the road at the end, and that has been presented. We also submitted a plat showing together by the survey with the petition to planning and zoning. Bob expects them to reject it. It will then end with a court settlement. The traffic in the 40291 area is continuing to get worse. There is a 115-unit apartment complex being planned off Brettlinger, which will further the traffic issues. There is also a traffic light planned at Wingfield. Under TARC bus, during the meeting with Robin Engel's office and code enforcement, the TARC bus that parks just south of Colonel Hancock was discussed. We requested that the bus move from that spot as it creates a dangerous blind spot of people trying to turn right onto Bardstown Road and vision being blocked by the bus. They have asked the buses to move south by 100 yards, and some are doing it while others are continuing to stop in the old spot. Bob has asked for them to move the bus stop sign that is there so that they would not be inclined to stop at that location. Under property for sale, there is a lot on Glenmary Farm that is part of the injunction. The owner and realtor have been warned that it is a non-buildable lot. It is part of the property that is recreational and outside the plats for residential property. They will have to disclose this to potential buyers. Under bylaws, Bob said we discussed the changes to the bylaws in 2 meetings during last year and explained the changes. The changes were to make September 1st the date to have the bios for the election and change regular mailings to more up-to-date electronic notifications with emails and the website. Under new business, deed restriction violations, Bob said we do not scour the neighborhood looking for violations, and we rely on residents to notify us regarding infractions. Our process has been to send out a warning Then a week later, if no action, to send a notice of $50. 1 week after that, another letter with a $100 fine. The third step is a lien on the property and eventually small claims court. We usually lose money on the process, and it is time consuming. Bob said there have been questions from one resident regarding the deed restrictions and the lack of enforcement. He said, we are looking into the process and considering some changes to include a second notice that is more forceful and a third notice being a letter from legal counsel after 30 days to file suit in district court. This may be more effective. We do have to pay legal fees, but if it is what it takes to get the job done, we will do it. We are also considering using another attorney for this process. We do have some deed restrictions that have been open for 2 years. He asked that residents help by keeping up property and notifying us when there is a problem. He said he drove around this past weekend and the neighborhood as a whole looks very good. It is 30 years old and now looks very nice. Maintenance, we will be looking into getting bids for landscaping coming up under Joe's leadership. Under questions, one resident asked about the lack of irrigation this summer, as there are large areas that are dead. He asked if the irrigation had been turned off. Joe said there were problems this year with irrigation, and it was a very hot summer and difficult to keep it all green. At this time, he does think they have all been turned off, and the next year there will be some improvements. The north side of Colonel Hancock was not working for much of the hot summer. Greenscapes was made aware and worked on it, but it did not work for a lot of the season. It will be fixed for the next summer season. One resident asked about vandalism to the clubhouse. He said there have been break-ins and his concern was someone burning it. Bob said we talked to code enforcement in the meeting referenced earlier, and they have been back out to inspect. However, their stand on the clubhouse is that they are not going to do much until the court case is resolved. We have no jurisdiction over the clubhouse. Ron said it would be good if all residents would send an email or letter to Robin Engel's office regarding their complaints. The residents said there have been trucks and trailers hauling things off from the property. Ron said to send us any license numbers of the vehicles coming and going, taking things out of the property. Bob also said to contact the fire marshal. They need to know the risk to the property. One resident asked about a large amount of brush behind their property and it had been taken care of, and he wondered who did it. Joe said, yes, it was a hazard and we had it taken care of. One resident asked about the apartments and wanted to know where it was. Bob said there was a hearing coming up about it at the firehouse on Bardstown Road, but he was unsure of the date. It can be found online. The apartments are to be built behind Kohl's on the south side of Brettlinger. There's supposed to be 115 apartments. One resident asked about the grass would be repaired where there was a leak in the irrigation system by phase 2. She said they had not heard if it would be fixed. Joe said we had not received any emails. He will look into it and have it fixed. One person asked about South Point Commons and if there was an update. We have no idea. Mike Brown always sounds so upbeat and everything is a go, but we keep not seeing any action, so we have no idea. One resident asked if there was an update on the golf course and bank, and there's no new information. Everything hinges on the appeals case. Someone asked if there were restrictions or regulations on trees. As far as common areas, there have been some trees damaged by blight and will be replaced. There is also deed restrictions requiring 2 trees per yard. They can either be standalone trees or in the landscaping. One resident asked how to know which section your house is in. Bob explained that on the website under documents, there are plat plans and you can find the street on the plat. Then you can figure out which house is yours. But there should also be a plat that came with your closing documents that show your plat number. Also, if you send an email to the board, we can help you with that. Bob said the deed restrictions in each section is very close, but there are some differences in each of the sections. One resident asked if there was any requirement in the deed restrictions to have landscaping. He has a neighbor with no landscaping. There is a section in the deed restrictions that says you must maintain the landscaping. If there was landscaping there must be submit plans to put it back. We will look into this. Sharon made a motion to adjourn. Evelyn seconded the motion and the meeting was adjourned at 7:37 p.m.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Before we do, I had a couple of corrections I caught as we were going, all right. There were a couple of minor On the fourth page, it says Blacksmith Lane. It's actually Blacksmith Road under the Dobson Lane. Yeah, it says it later on again, Blacksmith Road, but it was one place that said Blacksmith Lane. And somebody else had pointed that out. There's another, the Jefferson County Code Enforcement Head is a guy named Kurtzinger, Kurtsinger. I don't know what that name was that's in there, but it's Kurtzinger. And I think his first name is Bob Kurtzinger. It's Robert Kurtzinger, I'm sure of it. Yeah, let's correct that, because that is his name. Yeah, on the same page. I think that was it. And I'd read this before, but I just didn't catch that. It helps have somebody else read it. Okay, so we need a second to approve these minutes and enter these into the record. Can someone please?
I second it.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Okay, board, all in favor of accepting these minutes with those corrections to enter into the record, signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
That's 7 yes votes, so that settles that requirement. There's one thing that I blew right past. Officially, we are supposed to, hang on here, I've got some people that are still trying to get in. Let me admit these people. All right. 1 second. Okay, I think they're in. We are supposed to vote and approve the election chairperson, and it's unusual in that we are, of course, the reasons I mentioned, not going public with the name of that person, but we still need to have a motion in a second to approve. The board members all know who that person is. We're keeping that out of the public's eye because of the history that we have as a community. It's a shame, but it's necessary to do this. So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept chairperson.
Okay. Okay, let's, board members signify by saying yes if you approve the decision and the person that we have doing this election chairperson activity. Signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's the 7-0 approval for the record. Okay, thank you. Okay. Very good, thank you. Hang on, we've got one person in the waiting room. Let's admit that person. Okay. We got a pretty good crowd. We're almost 100 people. Okay. We are next supposed to give officer reports. And the first one up, the president is always supposed to give a general overview of the status of the community. I put together, I don't have a teleprompter like Joe Biden, but I have written down some things here. So I'll go into more detail under new and old business updates. But overall, as a community, we are intact. We're having good success in homes being sold. Property values are being upheld. Most people in this community are doing a very good job keeping their properties maintained and complying with the requirements to live here. So it's a flourishing community, regardless of what anybody may say. It's just where we are. We've faced a lot of challenges, including the pandemic. We've had continued golf property resolution issues. We've had numerous architectural requests. We've had numerous deed restriction violations. We've got delinquent accounts that we're working and made some progress on that. We'll talk about that later. One event was the sale of the 14 undeveloped lots over in the annexed estate section. And we have an ongoing challenge to connect to Glenmary roads with the new Ball Homes long property development, which instead of 80 homes is now 108 homes. So we're working that. And in addition, we had the weather was even difficult with us. We had our best snow and ice removal policy laid out there, and the weather figured out a way to make that difficult on us. And it did cost us a lot of money, But through all that, we are financially solvent. One thing I should say about that snow and ice removal, because I know a lot of people got excited about that. It's interesting. Our community roads are public roads, but this is a deed restricted community, so the restrictions in this community are enforceable, and the ice and snow removal is not an absolute requirement. It is a service that was instituted several years ago, and we have a budget in there. And this is a service that can easily break this HOA. Our dues are the lowest around, and we spent $42,000 on ice and snow removal, and there were a lot of people not happy. But you know, we were lucky that we didn't have a lot worse. So just bear in mind that we try to use those dollars sparingly to make our roads passable for safety. And without that, our entrances would be, you know, with the slope we have on two of them, it would be very, very difficult. So it's good that we do that, but there is a limit. I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. We'll get into details beyond that overview. Next thing we need to address is the financial status of the community, and our treasurer, Joe Schutz, has posted the third quarter year to date, and he will address our budget at this point. So
You'll probably have to mute your.
Yeah, let me mute mine. Okay, see if that works.
You good?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Sounds like there's still a little feedback.
Okay.
I'll probably be the two places. Hold on.
All right, is that better?
I muted.
All right. Thanks, Bob. I don't have a teleprompter either, but I've got some facts, figures, and numbers to help me get through this. So, an accountant's friend. So total income, I'm doing everything as through the third quarter, which just finished up at the end of September. Our income was $273,000 against a budget of $263,000. So we're about $10,000 over there, and we'll probably finish up the year a little bit better than that. Getting into our expenses, and that's probably mostly due to the collection on some delinquent accounts. We're already ahead of where we thought we'd be on the budget. Getting into the expenses, the total expenses for the through the third quarter, $228,000 against a budget of $207,000, which is about $21,000 over budget. Where that is mostly located is in relation to what Bob just finished talking about, and that was the snow removal, which was about $25,000 over what we had budgeted. This year is by far was an extraordinary year. I don't think we had a year like that for like 4 or 5 years. And so Bob was right in saying this could have been a lot worse, but we are, pardon me, 25,000. Hopefully we won't have any snow in November, December to make it any worse. The irrigation maintenance has been a little bit tough on us this year. We're a little bit over there. We've had a lot of breaks and things we had to repair this year in the irrigation system. The next big item that's causing the overage in expenses is legal fees. Most of that's all attributable to the Dobson Lane stuff that we've had to address to try to eliminate the impact of that subdivision joining on through Blacksmith and directing thousands of cars through our subdivision. That will probably get a little bit worse than it is right now. And overall, our legal fees will be the other item that's over. We may pick up a little bit in utilities before the end of the year. We're a little bit under right now, and I think that should continue throughout the rest of the year based on what I saw last year. So I think when you take that into consideration, the additional income we'll see and the savings in utilities will probably pick up about 20,000, and we'll probably end up being about 40,000 to the overage this year, as opposed to last year when we were about 25,000 over. We have about 127,000, I believe, in our fund, our rainy day fund, our fund that we fall back on when we do have unusual expenses come up. So we will be able to handle that without any problem this year. So that's kind of where we stand on the P&L through the third quarter, and kind of where we might end up at the end of the year. Bob, these will have not been posted yet on the website, but they will be after the meeting. This and the balance sheet both will be out there, just as they always are after each quarter, for anybody to look at and to examine. And obviously, if they have any questions about that, let the board know, and that'll get funneled to me. You want me to mention anything about the delinquencies at this point, or you want to wait on that?
Let's wait on that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it, Bob, for me.
Unmute here. Unmute. I muted two places. Okay. There's still on.
I'm getting muted here. Okay.
That's still, is it? It's okay now. Good. All right. Thank you, Joe. Okay. Next thing we're required to do is to get through a summary of the committee reports. And first thing up is the architectural approvals. We'll just do that in a summary by category. There were a lot of those. We don't want to take the time to read those. So Evelyn will read those off and just to have those in the record in a minute. So,
now this is between October of 2019 and October of 2021. We approved 15 fences, 4 driveways, 9 swimming pools, 12 decks or patios, 2 irrigation systems, 1 retaining wall, an egress window, a radon mitigation, a water feature, 1 set of windows, 2 sets of landscaping, moving a pool pump and a heater, gutters and paint, 3 roofs, a hot tub and gazebo, a swing set and climbing domes. We had 3 of those, 2 new homes, a deck enclosure. We also denied an outbuilding, a deck roof for lack of information, along with a driveway extension and concrete at the base of a house.
yeah, it's quite a variety, but that is it. It's everybody's improving their property. Okay, next up is Joe Swinehart will address the just in general terms the maintenance committee report. He handles all the. Do you have a? You want to talk on this one?
Am I talking now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on here.
Okay.
You've heard already some of the things that went on this last year, and it's a typical challenge for the year. We have irrigation issues, we have light issues, we have some vandalism, we have some age issues from some of the equipment, and we continue every year to address, bring some of that more and more up to date. We will continue to do so. But what I've tried to do over the last few years is try to take some type of definitive look at our islands to improve them, update them. And this year has been a little bit challenging because we've had some, I don't want to call them emergencies, but we've had some issues with some rather dead trees that were causing issues on some of the common property of our property that we had to take care of first. That ate up a lot of budget. And as usual, we're pushing the landscaping budget to the end like we do every year. We will continue to maintain, to repair, and to take care of, to keep Glenmary in fine looking condition. And I still will ask everybody to let the board know when you've got some ideas, whether it's islands or anywhere in the community. I've also heard from some people this year. We've done some some shrubs this year over sidewalks. And like I said, remove some trees. So we will continue those efforts, and please let us know. We want to communicate. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I will address the deed restriction violations topic. One thing that came to mind that I meant to add in this agenda, I want to go ahead and say it. Please make sure that anybody that you see that's new into the community one way or the other, advise them to get on our HOA website. And any communication to the board, please use the HOA website for the record, so that we have a good clear history of what issues were spelled out. And that is our only official method of communicating. And the only other point on communication I wanted to interject, there has been a continued problem with the use of a Facebook website or multiple websites that has even been listed as being the official website of Glenmary, and that's simply not the case. And there's a lot I could say about that. In the midst of this pandemic and the fact that we haven't been able to have meetings, this Facebook account has been used to spread a lot of misinformation, and it's gotten out of hand a few times. Recently got out of hand. There were some messages I saw retracted. We were considering legal action against a couple of individuals, and we don't need to, as a community, use that kind of a forum to instigate that kind of mistrust and misinformation amongst our community. We all live in here together. United we stand, divided we fall. This board is trying their absolute best to be open and honest and supportive, and the admins for this Facebook website are expected to follow the code of conduct, and there's some clear cases where that was not done, and it was a problem last year, and it's a problem this year. This year was even worse. So just make sure that if you have an issue, make sure you communicate to the board. And there was a lot of misinformation on that Facebook website, and that's all we can say. There's no sense in trying to chase it down every single comment. People say things that are not accurate. Okay, let's address deed restriction violations. The comment to that in general is that the enforcement, to a great extent, relies on the residents, but the HOA members, I make drives through the neighborhood at least once a week, following up on things that were notified and notifications have been sent to the residents. And we had a lot of unusual deed restriction violations this year. And it's interesting, in some of the cases, actually several of the cases, residents complained about the deed restriction violations, that they thought they were outdated, they should be ignored. And that's the last thing we want, is those ignored. There is a process to change the deed restrictions, and it can be done if it's significant enough and we feel strongly enough about it. But those deed restrictions are really the heart of keeping this neighborhood nice. And there's no intent by anybody to, on the board, to misuse those. So I just want to make that point. One thing that we because of a couple of issues, one thing that we've added is a requirement now in reporting a deed restriction violation. We need a photo submitted with the complaint, because the JPEG file on a photo has a GPS coordinates, a date and time stamp on it. And there have been cases where misinformation, one notification was sent to the wrong address. That did happen. And then there's others that are playing games with the system, and they'll have the violation, and then they'll not have the violation. They'll repeat it, but it's difficult to catch them unless you've got pictures. So I'll just give you a summary of the top offenses in 2021. Number one is habitually parking on the street. I don't know why that's such a problem, but, you know, as many people as, if we've got 854 homes back here and everybody habitually parks on the street, it's going to be a very dangerous and time consuming effort to get in and out of the community. So that's number one. The second one is neglect of property under the duty to maintain requirement. We all are expected to maintain our property. Trailers parked on the property, lots of those this year. Had a couple of commercial vehicles parked on the property. And one that was really troubling, we had a few cases where significant activities were underway without having an architectural approval on the record. And that puts us all in an awkward position. You know, we do have one where a person has violated, and we're gonna go back and have that, force that to be cleaned up. But please continue to be supportive of that. It's very important to our neighborhood. Okay, moving right along now. We under old business, I have put together a chronological summary. First thing on the agenda is the golf property. And because we have so many new people, I just want to walk through this chronology just to make sure that people have the facts. There was this all started in 2013 when the HOA, prior to the October annual meeting, had made a decision just before that annual meeting to purchase that 145 acre golf property for $2.15 million. And they crafted a contract, and it was not properly executed. The community vote to approve the purchase did not meet the requirement. It simply did not. I have the record. I know it's been argued that they did. It did not. Wasn't even close. And so that's fact checked. I want to make sure everybody knows that. It was about 42% of residents voted in favor, and many of them were for the very same reason today, just to have control of the property. And you know, that's still a desire today. So residents voted that board out in annual meeting in 2013, and the new board immediately dismissed the legal counsel, hired a new attorney, got an independent appraisal of the property, and it came in at $1.1 million as an operating golf course. And additionally, there was a decision made to vacate that contract under the terms of the agreement. It clearly stated that there were conditions that allowed that contract to be vacated. So a lawsuit was immediately filed by the former HOA president, Wayne Guthrie, and the former treasurer, Judy Johnson, for breach of contract. And that lawsuit was eventually joined by Par Golf. And this move prompted the HOA at that time to countersue those board members and Par Golf. And this case went all the way to the state Supreme Court, and the HOA was ruled to be correct on that. That contract was voided and vacated. The next piece of the lawsuit chronology that everybody, especially new people, need to just walk back through to get a fresh look. The lawsuit about the development of the use of the property. The Jefferson County Planning Commission approved conversion of 3 plats to building lots in this recreational zoned golf property. And so the HOA filed a suit against the Jefferson County in the circuit court against the Par Golf and Jefferson County Planning Commission to allow to reverse the zoning change that they had approved. And this is covered in a lot of different ways in our Section 1 Master Deed restrictions and on the plat maps for the golf property. And in that case, as it went on, which took forever with the pandemic, and the courts are slow anyway, but in the decision we got in June this year, the HOA position was supported by the Kentucky State Supreme Court. So following that breakthrough, prior to that decision, Stockyards Bank attorney had contacted the HOA attorney, and they called me and asked to talk about the HOA purchasing the golf property. And I basically said, look, you know, we don't have any intention of purchasing the golf property unless we have a number that we could consider that is reasonable, that we protect the residents. And they talked about a number after some back and forth, $450,000. And I said, well, put that in writing. This community is going to vote on whatever we do about this golf property. And well, they decided not to put it in writing and to withhold doing that till after they got the Supreme Court decision. So that's why people have asked that question. Why didn't you, take that to residents? It was not actually an offer. It was a discussion. That's all. The HOA board, from some activity that was going on involving Chris Thieneman, who's expressing interest in purchasing the golf property, we agreed to meet with him in March this year and to review his plan, and outcome of that, we were requesting a lot more details so that we could take the residents what the plan was. And we were excited. It's exciting to think that we could possibly get an entertainment venue, get that mess cleaned up over there. And to this date, we have not seen any detailed plans or any kind of a business plan. So prior to the Supreme Court decision, Mr. Thieneman negotiated and purchased 45 acres, including the clubhouse, for $625,000, which is an interesting number. Later on this year, I think it was actually in July, Par Golf failed to pay the 2021 property taxes on the golf property. And now there's tax liens on 6 of the tracts that make up the remaining 100 acres for the golf property. And I don't doubt that Mr. Thieneman is on the call tonight. I don't doubt that Mr. Purcell is on the call tonight, Par Golf. But to date, Mr. Thieneman's not actually made any kind of a response. There's been one communication about trying to negotiate a number with him. And it was that same $450,000 in an email. And he responded that 1.6 million was his price. And so there's been no negotiation with him whatsoever. So basically, the way the board sees it is that Mr. Thieneman is trying to extort the community to pay $1.6 million for basically 39% of the 145 acres that was appraised at 1.1 million as an operating golf course. So, that's where we are in that discussion. I will say that it's very obvious, and I think a lot of the community has seen through this. Mr. Thieneman did attempt to divide this community with several different methods, and it's a shame, but it happened, and a lot of angst amongst the community. It was unnecessary. So currently, the HOA is working with legal counsel to prevent Mr. Thieneman's plan to have a homeless camp weekend on the golf property last week in October, and Halloween weekend, and where that's gotten to this point is a lot of residents have contacted Stockyards Bank, and so has the board, and so has our attorney. And where that stands right now is the Stockyards Bank attorney, John Garvey, has sent a letter to Par Golf asking them to not allow Chris Thieneman to have that activity on the golf property. There's a lot of risk to the community. It'll be disturbing the peace. He says he's bringing 35 homeless tents out here that weekend. We don't need that in Glenmary. And a point on that, I should say, that's a threat to basically scare residents into believing that there's no option but to pay his extortion price. And when you set up a homeless camp, you go from recreation to residential, and there's county code requirements on that. You've got to have utilities, you got to have sanitation, you got to have roads, you got to have parking, you got to have lighting, you got to have all these things that are not there. So you can read into what's going on there, but the board is going to do everything possible to not allow that to happen. We're fully committed to settle this issue with Stockyards Bank. Mr. Thieneman apparently won't negotiate, and Stockyards tells us to talk to Thieneman. So at some point in the near future, we should be seeing we're going to get to a point where we're going to have something to take to residents. We're going to do this as a community. The board's not going to, we're not going to edict anything. No way in the world that we should, but we need to own that golf community property as a package. It doesn't need to be split into sections. That's a disaster. So that's where the board stands on this. We'll address some questions that have been submitted on the website following up to those points. All right, the next topic is one that we spent a lot of effort and money on, the Dobson Lane Ball Homes development. Let me give you a little chronology and tell you where we are. So in 2019, there was a plan submitted to Jefferson County Planning Commission by Superior Builders, a guy named Brian Wacker, who is the guy that bought the 14 lots and is building homes over here now. And this plan was including connecting to Blacksmith Road, which is currently a closed road. And then they were planning to close the access to that long property on Dobson Lane, except for they had a plan for emergency access only. And that plan was routing all construction traffic through Glenmary. And we had a lot of concern about the impact on traffic flow out on Barstown Road and also damage to our roads and safety. You go dragging a lot of heavy equipment across, residential streets, and you're going to tear those roads up. So they did agree to post a $500,000 bond to cover road damage. In the interim, there wasn't anything that went on in 2020 due to the pandemic. And so earlier this year, upon advice from council, the HOA was advised to install a barrier at the end of Blacksmith Road. And we conducted a traffic survey and presented a defense opposing the 2021 hearing for continuing with this modified plan that Ball Homes has, which is now a 108 home plan. And they didn't make a decision at that first hearing, pushed it out 4 weeks, and there were several things at the meeting to finally review that, and there were violations of land development code. There was the controlled access to Dobson Lane was a concern about, you got somebody who's having a heart attack and you got an ambulance trying to get in there and you don't know where the key is to get in through this entrance. That's very, very unwieldy and ridiculous plan. So what's happened with that, and as a community, we should do our very best to prevent that from being done the way it's planned. So what's happened is we filed a 30-day within a window, a 30-day window appeal to challenge that decision, and basically with the language basically said that if you don't reverse your decision, we're going to take you to court. And we've got five points that we see as reasons to overturn that decision. There are multiple violations of land development code. The first one has to do with the number of homes that can have the egress point of one single roadway. It's like you're over 200 homes, you have to have at least 2 egress points. There's only 1. And second point in that appeal was there's a complete disregard for Glenmary deed restrictions. Our deed restrictions say we have the right to have a fence around the perimeter of this development all the way around. There is a fence there, but just to make sure there wasn't any question, our attorney advised we put up yet another barrier just to make sure, and that's on our property. We have the right for that fence to be there. So the next point was that in this proposal, they have, without any justification, except to say that the Dobson Lane isn't up to the code for that many homes, they've closed Dobson Lane. And in essence, they're opening a closed road, which is Blacksmith Road, without going through the process. And despite the fact that we have a petition by each resident asking to keep that road closed. And this whole affair, based on our traffic study, further complicates an already broken Bardstown Road corridor traffic pattern. The peak traffic hours at Colonel Hancock and Bardstown Road showed 4,224 vehicles an hour. That's kind of incredible, but that was the number. I've got the survey. Now, just as a reminder, that development, if it is allowed, all construction and all access in and out of that additional development will be up and down Colonel Hancock Drive or through Glenmary Farm Drive, or going out the side entrance. What is what's Old Toll Road? Yeah, that is a curvy way out. But this plan is a disaster, and Ball Homes has no. They have no concern for our well-being or our community. So in essence, what is the right answer for that? What we're pushing for is the developer needs to put in a road that does meet the improvements on Dobson Lane that does meet the standard. That's the answer to this. And yet again, they're trying to sweep something under the rug and not do it right. And I don't know about everybody else's opinion here, but our Bardstown Road corridor, it's ridiculous. It backs up to Hurstbourne Lane going southbound in the evenings, and it backs up to all the way past Glenmary in the mornings trying to get northbound. So I think the board is right in that, and I think most of the community is in support of this, but just want you all to be aware of that. Okay, I need to take a drink. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. All right. Next point, new business. And the only point on new business, I know everybody wants to talk about the golf property, but we have some questions we'll answer. On new business, let's just talk about the golf property future. It's obvious to most Glenmary residents that the remaining 100 acres of the golf property needs to be retained as a package and owned by the community, the HOA, and remain as open space. There's no question about that. We did do a survey. And we followed the guidance that we got back from residents who voted, and it was a good turnout. It was posted in the Maple Leaf and on the website. So what you've seen up to this point was based on what you advised us to do. I know there were some people who didn't like the questions. The questions were based on the decisions before us at the time, and were based on the facts. And the second point, in the future, it does not appear at this time that any solution for a purchase with Mr. Thieneman is an option. He is not proposing anything reasonable. $1.6 million is we can vote on that. If those who want to buy, if they think that's reasonable, I don't know why you would think that, but the board and our attorney does not recommend taking that to residents for a vote. That is a. I will tell you too. Talked again to the patio home presidents and the golf home president, and they've had appraisers out and have had their walkthrough, and they're as concerned as anybody else about this property. And that appraiser, I don't have that appraisal in front of my hand, but I can tell you it's nowhere near $1.6 million. It's a fraction. It's a small fraction of that. So we're at a stalemate, and the bank is saying, talk to Chris Thieneman, and Chris Thieneman won't talk. We've got nothing in writing from him. And when we do get something that we think is reasonable, I'll tell you, reasonable to me is, I don't want to buy a golf course, but if I have to, just to get peace in the community, we had a $450,000 offer. I could throw some facts at you. $450,000 offer, and we have remaining of that property. There's 61% of that property is remaining, so you can do the math, and it's $300,000. It's around $300,000. That's what that number would get you to. And 1.1 million was the whole enchilada as a operating golf course. And what is unique about our community and why this is a battle is that our golf community is woven into the governing docs of this community. They were made part of the community. The courts have upheld that. There is no question about that. So we intend to uphold our land rights, and there is no other purpose this board should have other than to uphold the governing docs. Okay, probably enough of that. That gets us through the regular agenda, and we've got 97 people in this meeting, just for the record. I will, because we've got less than 20 minutes left. Let me go through. I will read the questions that we received. This will hopefully answer a lot of people's concerns. There is an ongoing question by one of our residents about wanting to see the legal fees that we've spent getting us these 6 court victories and upholding our governing docs and our land rights. Because I'm quite sure that Mr. Thieneman and Mr. Purcell are on the call. I'm not going to give you the number, but I can tell you as a resident, you can go to the HOA website under the private section. That's a correspondence from your board of directors. Those numbers have been posted on there for about 4 months. One of our residents was demanding to see those, and we worked and got that information, and it's a fair amount of money, but for what we got, it was a good value. I'm sorry. And residents only had in one tight area, we had to do a $175 assessment. That was many years ago. So a second question, one of our residents is wanting to audit the financials and, have the right to do that. But the financials are published on the website quarterly, and the annual finance statement is published on the website as well. So in order to take the time to get specific about what exactly he wants to audit, we haven't proceeded. We need to see a more specific list, and that's going to take time and effort, and all of us are volunteers. Unless there's a very specific list, we're not going to schedule the meeting just yet, but Joe Schutz and I have discussed that, and there's no intent not to share it. You have the right to see it, but you don't have the right to send us on to a wild goose chase, wasting a lot of time. We want to be specific about what the intent is and try to get the answers. So we will cooperate on that. Just that's where we are. Okay, here's something else. This is I should have mentioned this. It wasn't a question, but it was a statement I meant to make. We intend to go for recovery of our legal fees as well, because of our 6 victories in court, the 2 Supreme Court victories. What you'll see in that report on legal fees, we have every right to recover that from all of those who started that action. It's including Jefferson County Planning Commission. They made a mistake. It's supported by the courts, and we spent money defending our rights. There's another thought along that line too. Lost my train of thought there for a second. Well, let me move on. It'll come back in a minute. Okay. This question comes to us. It says, When are we going to hear something about what's going on to happen with this? What's going to happen with the 6 parcels of the golf course that Chris Feeneman has an option on? Well, you just heard everything that this board knows, but a couple of things that we didn't say. Chris Feeneman's option expires at the end of this year, and he is intent on threatening us that that property will be sold by the end of the year. And, his current antics are going to drive pressure through the bank, through Par Golf. And we'll end up in litigation if we can't get to the negotiating table on a reasonable sale price. So that's, you're going to know as soon as we get something different that we can take to residents. What we have today, we're at a stalemate. Talk to Mr. Thieneman if you don't. Yeah, nothing will be done regarding that golf property without residents voting on it. Absolutely. And I should say this: there isn't any question that Stockyards Bank and Par Golf and Chris Thieneman are in conjunction trying to get as much money out of the residents of this community as they can for that golf property. I should also say this on that topic. We did get our hands on the commercial loan, and I don't know, I'm sure some of you on the call are finance people, former bank leaders. There is an issue. If we'll post that loan on the website. I think we should. There's at least 5 areas in that loan document where Stockyard Bank has not taken the action that it requires. They're delinquent on the upkeep. They're delinquent on the taxes. They're delinquent on following the laws and restrictions. And it is required that it be maintained as one parcel. Actually, the sale that Chris Thieneman underwent of buying what he bought could be reversed in court. If we wanted to take that to court, we would win that. That's there isn't any question about it. So we should put that out. I want all residents to take a good look at that. It's very obvious that there's a game going on there. So I don't know much about Stockyards Bank, but I'm glad I don't have any money there right now. Okay, and frankly, Stockyards Bank does not want. I was told by their commercial loan officer, Douglas Koo, that the bank is not involved in this, and that they do not want any public negative public response to anything going on in Glenmary. There was a letter issued by the president of Stockyards Bank, which when I went back and read it, it was completely a fabricated, inaccurate list of comments that he made. That very loan document disputes what he said. So consider that also. I mean, these are facts. I'm not making any of this up. Okay, here's the next question on this request. How can Chris Thieneman have a homeless Halloween party on the golf course? He's just asking for trouble from Glenmary residents. Well, if he has permission from Par Golf to have a camp out on the golf property, and they don't disturb the peace, there isn't anything we can do about it. But if he buys that property and brings homeless people out here and puts tents up, that's a problem. That's a violation of a lot of county code. That's a violation of our deed restrictions and our zoning, and we can do a lot about that. This is simply a pressure tactic to get people excited and dig deep in their checkbook and write a ridiculous, extorted price check to cover him. I'm just in disbelief of how this has turned. We went from a resurrection of the clubhouse and putting an entertainment venue there to extorting the neighborhood for $1.6 million for some golf property that's worth about $300,000. So that's where we are on that topic. yeah, there is a, there is a move the bank could take. They could call that mortgage anytime. They've got 5 reasons that I saw that would, if they called that mortgage, it puts a stop to anything Pargoff or Chris Thieneman attempts to do. And let's not ignore the fact that Chris Thieneman is involving yet another party, Louisville West Urban League group, and they're attempting to show this neighborhood as being indifferent to homeless or minorities, and it's no such thing. Check the record on the their purpose and setting up a homeless camp in a residential neighborhood is not in their credo. It's completely a threat, and it will be dealt with one way or the other. So we're not turning our back on it. Okay, that gets me through 2 of the 3 people's questions. Let's see. Here's the next person. How is the HOA, or what is the HOA planning for the remaining golf property? Well, I'll tell you what, the HOA is planning to have the community vote on whatever a purchase price is for openers at some date. And if we agree, there's going to have to be some conditions with the Stockyards Bank for those who, by default, get drug into this purchase. But we're going to have a vote by residents if and when that ever happens. And the HOA's plan would be to convert this or keep this as open space and to maintain it as green space open area. Okay, we've got I got 2 more questions here, and we've got some questions that people have submitted online here. Next question was, why were we not presented with the offer made by Stockyards Bank to Don Cox, $450,000? Well, I answered that. I'll tell you again. The answer is that was a discussion. It was never an offer. I would have taken that to residents, and I made that very clear. And the reason why it wasn't taken was because it was a discussion, and we were fishing to find out where we were, and it officially was not an offer. They withdrew it. Next question was, are we currently in negotiations with Stockyard Bank? If no, why not? The answer is, of course we are. And they've directed us to talk to Chris Thieneman. And of course, we're not going to look the other way on this violation of this commercial loan. I have insisted that our legal counsel file suit against Stockyards Bank to force them to stop this Halloween encampment out here on the golf property, and to make us an offer. We want to settle this thing. This is a tactic that has no place in this community. It needs to be taken somewhere else. That's the best answer I can give you. How much have we spent on legal fees in the last 8 years? And how much of this amount was spent on protecting the golf course property from development? Well, the answer is the same. It's under the correspondence from your board of directors have been posted there for 4 months. 4 months. And then the plan to back that up is that we intend to recover the legal fees that we invested, because we have court victories on every piece of those 2 court battles. Okay, we do have some questions that have been sent in. Okay, let's see. Okay. Will there be enough money from the countersuit for legal fees in order to purchase the property? Well, it depends. It's a diaper. If we, that's ask the Stockyards Bank, Christine and Pargoff about that. If it was, if that number we have in our tally covers that amount of money, I can tell you it's nowhere near the demanded purchase price. But it would go a long way toward purchasing the property. Probably something should be mentioned as well in that question, answer to that question. There is liability, there is upkeep, there are lists of improvements that would have to be made over some scheduled period of time if we own the golf property as green space. And that couldn't be done without there being, an increase in the dues to cover that. And if we try to do it as efficiently as we can, like we try to run this board, our dues are ridiculously low, but we would have to increase the dues to cut the grass and to ensure that golf property, the estimate was last year. There's a range depending on how you were trying to, there's some things we have to do right off the bat that are insurance companies. Yeah, we did mention that. I think one number was depending on what level of improvement, we have issues that would have to be dealt with. It would have to be at least $150 a year increase in the dues just to even consider taking care of it. But there are some things that would have to be taken care of. It's a huge liability. Probably couldn't get insurance on it immediately without an agreement that these things would be taken care of. There's fallen trees. There's an incident that a few people know about where somebody got injured in an area that should have been properly covered. It wasn't. Oh. One of our board members just reminded me of this point, and I thought I was misspeaking last night. I went back to the president of Golf Homes Property, and they had a land appraiser and a couple of people who are involved in code enforcement walk the holes 2 and 3, because that's where the plan is for the homeless Halloween party. And I said what I heard when I discussed this with the board. She said that appraiser said that this land is like roadside. It's of no value, no useful value. It can't be built on. It's restricted under the Section 1 Master Deed restrictions. And he said, as an appraiser, that the value was no more than $300 an acre. I called her back tonight to confirm that, and I haven't seen the document, but that's what she told me. They have that in writing from a certified appraiser and an engineer. There were 3 people involved in that appraisal. So that tells you the 1.6 million is completely out of any term of reality. We will have the election results. I guess if we are going with a 10-15 postmark next week, as soon as we'll draw the line probably Wednesday that they have to be in. I mean, we have to count unless we'll probably have enough, unless it's within a very small count. We will have the results. We'll post the results. I know there's some qualified candidates, and we'll continue this mission as it's continued for 30 years. I will tell you, this is a lot of work for the volunteers. Anybody who wants to get involved in it. I put an inordinate amount of time in on this, and really just trying to do the right thing for the community. So I know not everybody appreciates that, but I know several people do. So we are at the end of the time we have allotted for this meeting, and I'll tell you what, if anybody on this call has a very specific question that they want addressed that they don't think we answered tonight, please submit it to the HOA website, and we will do our level best to get you an answer. That's the only fair thing we can do. But please consider everything we said. This is all the information we have. There's no intent to twist or hide anything here. That's we're supposed to be totally transparent. This is as transparent as we can get. So hopefully next time we can have a meeting face to face. Thank all of you all for attending. we need a motion to adjourn this meeting. Okay, we got a motion from Sharon Dreher and a second from Evelyn Mills. And thank you all for your time, and have a great weekend or rest of your week and weekend. And hopefully we will not have a Halloween party in Glenmary on the golf property. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Well,